General Vex stood on the bridge of his massive warship and looked at the small blue planet floating in the darkness of space. Earth looked so tiny compared to the hundreds of ships in his fleet. The planet was nothing more than a pale dot against the black stars. "Humans are weak," General Vex said to his commanders who stood around him. His forearms moved as he pointed at the holographic display showing Earth. "Look at them. Their bones break easily. Their skin tears with the smallest cut. They need to eat every few hours or they get weak. They must sleep for 8 hours every day or they cannot think properly." The other Korthak commanders nodded their heads in agreement. They were all tall creatures, standing 8 feet high with thick armor covering their bodies. Their skin was like the shell of a crab, hard and strong. They had conquered 17 different species across the galaxy. Each time, the battle lasted only a few days before their enemies gave up. Commander Hex, who was General Vex's second in command, stepped forward. "General, our scouts report that humans have no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no poison. They cannot even see well in the dark. How did such weak creatures survive on their own planet?" General Vex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "They survived because nothing on their world was strong enough to kill them all. But now they face the Korthak Empire. This will be our easiest victory yet." The bridge was filled with the sounds of preparation. Korthak warriors checked their weapons and armor. Ship captains received their orders for the attack. Everyone expected the humans to surrender as soon as they saw the size of the Korthak fleet. Far below on Earth, Colonel Li Jin-ho sat in an underground command center beneath the city of Seoul. Red lights flashed on the walls as alarms rang throughout the facility. His aide, Sergeant Cho Min-woo, ran up to him with a tablet computer. "Sir, our satellites detected massive ships at the edge of our solar system," Min-woo said, his voice shaking slightly. "The ships are bigger than anything we have ever built. There are hundreds of them." Jin-ho took the tablet and looked at the images. The alien ships looked like enormous insects made of metal and glass. Each one was at least 10 times larger than Earth's biggest battleship. He had been a soldier for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Have we tried to communicate with them?" Jin-ho asked. "Yes, sir. Captain Park Soo-jin is trying to make contact from the orbital defense platform. So far, no response from the aliens." Jin-ho walked over to the main communication console where Lieutenant Kim Nari was working. She had headphones on and was adjusting different radio frequencies, trying to pick up any signals from the alien fleet. "Lieutenant, any luck with communications?" Jin-ho asked. Nari looked up from her equipment. "Sir, I am picking up some transmissions, but they are in a language I have never heard before. Wait, I think I am getting something in English now." She adjusted her controls and suddenly, a deep, harsh voice filled the command center. The voice spoke English, but with a strange accent that made it difficult to understand. "Humans of Earth, this is the Korthak Empire. You are weak creatures who cannot defend yourselves. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist us and we will make you suffer before you die." The command center fell silent. Everyone stared at the radio equipment as if they could not believe what they had just heard. Jin-ho felt his heart beating faster, but he kept his face calm. His soldiers were looking at him, waiting to see what he would do. Min-woo stepped closer to Jin-ho. "Sir, what are our orders?" Jin-ho walked over to the tactical display that showed Earth's defenses. He looked at the numbers on the screen. Earth had 12 orbital defense platforms, each armed with nuclear missiles and energy weapons. They had 300 fighter aircraft capable of space combat. They had ground-based missile systems on every continent. Against hundreds of massive alien warships, Earth's defenses looked pathetic. "Sir," Captain Park Soo-jin's voice came through the communication system from the orbital platform. "I am looking at these alien ships through our telescopes. Their weapons are at least 50 times more powerful than ours. Their armor looks thick, enough to stop our best missiles. We cannot win a direct fight against them." Jin-ho nodded. Soo-jin was right. In a normal battle, the aliens would destroy Earth's forces in minutes. But Jin-ho had not become a colonel by fighting normal battles. He thought about his country's history. Korea had been invaded many times by larger, stronger enemies. Sometimes they won by avoiding direct fights and using clever tactics instead. The aliens expected humans to fight like other species they had conquered. They expected surrender or a quick, honorable battle. They were about to learn that humans fought differently. Jinho activated the global communication network that connected military commanders around the world. Within seconds, he was speaking to generals and admirals on every continent. "This is Colonel Lee Jinho in Seoul. You have all heard the alien message. They think we are weak. They think we will surrender without a fight. They are wrong." "Colonel," came a voice from the American general, "our analysts say we cannot win against their technology. They have better weapons, better armor, and more ships than all of Earth's forces combined." "General, they have never fought humans before," Jinho replied. "They conquered other species who probably fought the way they expected. We will not fight the way they expect." Jinho looked around the command center at his staff. Nari was still monitoring alien communications. Minwoo was coordinating with defense systems around the world. Other officers were preparing evacuation plans for major cities. These people had families, friends, lives they wanted to protect. The aliens thought humans were weak because they needed food and sleep and had soft skin. But the aliens did not understand what made humans truly dangerous. Humans did not give up. When faced with impossible odds, they found new ways to fight. They worked together. They sacrificed for each other. They never stopped trying to survive. Jinho walked back to the communication console and picked up the microphone. He knew the aliens were listening to Earth's radio frequencies. He wanted them to hear his response. "This is Colonel Lee Jinho of the Republic of Korea Army, speaking for all humans on Earth. You call us weak. You demand our surrender. You threaten to kill us." He paused for a moment, thinking of all the people counting on him and the other military leaders around the world. "Here is our answer. Come and take it." He turned off the microphone and looked at his staff. "Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for war." The first Korthak missiles struck Earth's major cities at dawn. General Vex watched from his command ship as bright flashes lit up the planet's surface. He expected to see surrender signals within the hour. Instead, his communication officers reported something strange. "General, the humans are not responding to our attack," Commander Hex said, looking confused. "Our sensors show they are moving underground. Thousands of them are disappearing into tunnels and bunkers." General Vex frowned. In all his previous conquests, enemy forces either fought back immediately or surrendered. They did not simply vanish. "Are they hiding like frightened animals?" "It appears so, General. Our ground forces report empty cities. The humans have abandoned their surface positions. Then send in the hunters. Flush them out of their holes. This cowardice will not save them." 3 massive Korthak transport ships descended toward Earth. Each carried 10,000 elite warriors ready for ground combat. The Korthak had perfected the art of planetary invasion. Their soldiers were trained to fight in formation, using honor-based tactics that had worked on 17 different worlds. But Earth was not like those other worlds. In the underground tunnels beneath Seoul, Colonel Jinho studied maps of the city's subway system, sewage tunnels, and maintenance passages. South Korea had spent decades building these underground networks for protection against attacks. Now they would serve a new purpose. "The aliens are landing in Incheon," reported Sergeant Minwoo, monitoring the tactical displays. "Estimated 10,000 soldiers in the first wave." "Good," Jinho said calmly. "Let them come. Captain Yoon Da-bin, are your teams in position?" Captain Yoon Da-bin spoke through the radio from somewhere in the ruins of Busan. "Yes, sir, we have small units hidden throughout the city. The aliens will find empty buildings and silent streets." Jinho smiled. The Korthak expected to fight human armies in open battle. Instead, they would face ghosts. The first Korthak patrol entered downtown Seoul 2 hours after landing. Commander Thak led 50 warriors through the empty streets, their heavy footsteps echoing between tall buildings. They carried energy weapons that could cut through steel and wore armor that could stop tank shells. "Where are the humans?" asked Sergeant Geck, scanning the windows above them. "Our intelligence said this city held 10 million people." "They are hiding," Commander Thak replied. "We will find them and drag them out." The Korthak patrol moved in. Perfect formation down the main street. They had used this same formation on 16 other worlds. It was efficient, honorable, and had never failed. That was their first mistake. Captain Yoon Da-bin watched the alien patrol from a subway tunnel entrance. She had 20 soldiers with her, all carrying human weapons that seemed primitive compared to the alien technology. But Da-bin had studied the aliens through satellite imagery. She knew their weaknesses. The Korthak walked in straight lines. They announced their presence with loud voices and heavy footsteps. They never looked up or down, only straight ahead. They fought like soldiers, not like hunters. Da-bin spoke quietly into her radio. Team 2, do you see them? Confirmed. 50 aliens moving down Changro Street. They are not watching the buildings. Team 3, are you ready? Ready, Captain. Charges are in place. Da-bin waited until the alien patrol was directly above the subway tunnel. Then she gave the signal. The explosion shook the entire street. A section of road collapsed, dropping 15 Korthak warriors into the tunnel below. The remaining aliens looked around in confusion, trying to understand what had happened. That was when Da-bin's soldiers opened fire from windows and rooftops. The Korthak armor could stop direct hits, but the humans were not aiming at their armor. They targeted joints, weapon systems, and communication equipment. Commander Thak tried to organize his scattered forces, but half his squad was trapped in the collapsed tunnel, and the other half was taking fire from multiple directions. He had never faced an enemy that refused to show themselves. Fall back to the landing zone, he ordered, but his communication system had been damaged. Only half his warriors heard the command. In the tunnel below, Corporal Han Ji-wook had been waiting with his demolition team. As the trapped Korthak warriors tried to climb out, he detonated charges that brought down more of the tunnel ceiling. The aliens' superior armor meant nothing when tons of concrete and steel crushed them from above. Meanwhile, 2,000 kilometers away, Dr. Song Mi-young was studying pieces of Korthak technology in a secret laboratory. She had recovered weapon, fragments and armor pieces from the first alien landing sites. What she discovered changed everything. Colonel Jin Ho, you need to see this, she said over the secure communication link. What did you find, Doctor? The alien technology is advanced, but it is also predictable. Their weapons fire in straight lines with no variation. Their armor is designed to stop direct attacks from the front. Their communication systems use a single frequency that we can jam. Jin Ho felt a surge of hope. Are you saying we can fight them? I am saying they have never fought an enemy like us. Their technology is built for formal warfare between organized armies. They expect their enemies to fight with honor and follow rules. And we will not follow their rules. Exactly, Colonel. Reports came in from around the world. In New York, human forces had collapsed subway tunnels on alien patrols. In London, snipers were picking off individual Korthak warriors from hidden positions. In Tokyo, chemical weapons were being used to flush aliens out of buildings they had occupied. General Vex stared at the tactical displays on his command ship. Red dots showed where his ground forces were under attack. Yellow dots showed units that had gone silent. Green dots showed areas still under Korthak control. There were far too many red and yellow dots. General, Commander Hex reported, we have lost contact with 12 patrol units. The humans are not fighting us directly. They attack and then disappear before we can respond. Cowards, General Vex snarled. They refuse to face us in honorable combat. Perhaps, General, but their tactics are effective. We have lost 300 warriors in the first day alone. General Vex had never lost 300 warriors in an entire campaign before. The humans were supposed to be weak, frightened creatures who would surrender at the first sight of Korthak might. Instead, they were fighting like nothing he had ever encountered. On Earth, Colonel Jin Ho received reports from military commanders around the world. The news was mixed. Human forces were taking casualties, but they were also learning. Each encounter with the aliens taught them more about Korthak weaknesses. Sir, Lieutenant Nari said, I am intercepting alien communications. They sound confused and frustrated. Good, Jin Ho replied. Confusion is our friend. The longer they stay confused, the more time we have to prepare our next moves. Outside, the war for Earth was just beginning. But already both sides were learning that this would not be the quick, simple conquest the Korthak had expected. The hunters had become the hunted, and they did not like it. 3 weeks had passed since the Korthak invasion began. General Vex stood in his command center staring at reports he could barely believe. His mighty army, which had conquered 17 worlds, was struggling against a species he had called weak. "General," Commander Hex said quietly, "we control the surface of most major cities, but the humans continue to operate from underground. Every day we lose more warriors to their attacks." General Vex looked at the tactical display. Green areas showed Korthak control, but they were shrinking. Red zones marked areas where his forces no longer dared to patrol. The red zones were growing larger each day. "How many warriors have we lost?" General Vex asked. "Over 2,000, General. That is more than we lost in our last 3 conquests combined. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in North America, Major." Lim Hyun-sik coordinated human resistance operations from a massive underground bunker. The facility had been built during the Cold War to survive nuclear attacks. Now it served as the hidden heart of Earth's defense. "Major, we have new intelligence from Seoul," reported his communications officer. "The aliens follow the same patrol patterns every day. They announce their movements on radio frequencies we can intercept." Hyun-sik smiled. The Korthak fought with honor and followed military traditions. This made them predictable. Humans had learned to use this predictability against them. "Send the information to all resistance cells," Hyun-sik ordered. "Tell them to prepare coordinated strikes for tomorrow at dawn." Around the world, human fighters received their instructions. They were not professional soldiers like Hyun-sik. Many were civilians who had picked up weapons to defend their homes. But they shared one important advantage over the Korthak. They had no rules about fighting fairly. In Berlin, Sergeant Kim Yoon-jung led a team of 12 people through abandoned subway tunnels. Her team included a teacher, a doctor, an electrician, and a grandmother who had learned to use explosives. None of them looked like dangerous warriors. That was exactly what made them dangerous. "The aliens will pass through Alexanderplatz at exactly 900 hours, Yoon-jung whispered to her team. "They always take the same route. They always walk in the same formation. They never learn." Her team had spent 2 weeks watching Korthak patrols. The aliens were creatures of habit. They followed procedures that had worked on other worlds. They could not understand that Earth was different. At exactly 900 hours, 50 Korthak warriors marched through Alexanderplatz in perfect formation. Commander Vach led the patrol, confident that the empty square posed no threat. His warriors had walked this same route for 3 weeks without incident. That was their mistake. Yoon-jung's team had spent the night placing small explosive charges in manholes, light poles, and building foundations around the square. The explosives were not powerful enough to kill the armored aliens directly. Instead, they were designed to create chaos. The first explosion knocked over a light pole that crashed into the alien formation. The second explosion opened a sinkhole that swallowed 3 warriors. The third explosion shattered windows in surrounding buildings, sending glass raining down on the confused aliens. As the Korthak tried to regroup, human snipers opened fire from hidden positions. They did not aim for the aliens' thick armor. Instead, they targeted weapon systems, communication devices, and the joints between armor plates. Commander Vach tried to call for support, but his radio had been destroyed by sniper fire. He tried to lead his warriors to safety, but the humans had blocked all the exits from the square with burning vehicles. Within 10 minutes, the entire Korthak patrol had been eliminated. Yoon-jung's team disappeared back into the subway tunnels before reinforcements could arrive. Similar attacks happened in dozens of cities around the world. Human forces had learned to fight as a network rather than an army. When the Korthak destroyed one cell, 2 more appeared to take its place. The breakthrough came when Lieutenant Colonel Park Jaemin's engineering team in Seoul managed to capture an intact Korthak shield generator. Park was a genius with technology, who had spent his career designing defensive systems. "Colonel Jin Ho, you need to see this," Park said over the secure communication link. "I have figured out how their shields work." Jin Ho hurried to Park's laboratory deep beneath Seoul. The captured alien device sat on a work table, surrounded by human computers and testing equipment. The shield technology is impressive, Park explained, but it has a critical weakness. The shields are designed to stop high-energy attacks coming from one direction. They cannot handle multiple low-energy attacks from different angles. What does that mean for us? Jinho asked. It means we can overload their shields using conventional weapons if we coordinate our attacks properly. We do not need better weapons. We need better tactics. This discovery changed everything. Within days, human forces around the world received new instructions. Instead of running from Korthak patrols, they began hunting them. Captain Lee So-young discovered another alien weakness while monitoring their communications from an underground facility in Australia. The Korthak ground forces depended heavily on orders from their command ships in orbit. Cut off from their fleet, the aliens became confused and uncoordinated. If we can jam their communication satellites, So-young reported to the Global Command Network, we can blind their ground forces. Human hackers and engineers worked together to build powerful signal jammers using salvaged alien technology. When they activated the jammers, Korthak forces on the ground suddenly found themselves isolated and unable to call for support. General Vex received increasingly disturbing reports from his commanders on the surface. Entire battalions were going silent. Supply convoys were being destroyed. Most worrying of all, humans had begun using captured Korthak weapons against their former owners. They learned too quickly, Commander Hex reported, his four eyes wide with something that might have been fear. Every weapon we lose ends up being used against us. Every piece of technology we leave behind gets turned into a trap. How is this possible? General Vex demanded. We are the superior species. We have better armor, better weapons, better training. General, perhaps our definition of superior needs to be reconsidered. The humans adapt to our tactics faster than we can change them. They use our own strengths against us. They fight without honor or rules. For the first time since the invasion began, General Vex felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. The soft, weak humans were somehow defeating his mighty army. On Earth, Colonel Jinho stood in his command center watching reports flow in from around the world. Human casualties were still high, but Korthak losses were higher. More importantly, human morale was rising while alien morale appeared to be falling. Sir, Lieutenant Nari reported, we are intercepting more alien communications. They sound frustrated and angry. Some of them are asking when they can return to their ships. Jinho nodded. The tide of war was turning, but the hardest fighting still lay ahead. The Korthak were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. Desperate enemies were the most dangerous enemies, but humans had learned something important, too. They were not as weak as they appeared. When they worked together, when they refused to give up, they could face any enemy. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, Jinho believed they could win. 2 months after the invasion began, General Vex stared at the tactical displays that showed his worst nightmare. The holographic map of Earth was covered in red zones where his forces could no longer operate safely. What had started as a simple conquest had become a disaster that would shame the Korthak Empire for generations. General, Commander Hex said carefully, we have lost over 15,000 warriors. That is more than half our invasion force. General Vex's forearms trembled with rage and something else he had never felt before. Fear. How many humans have we killed? Our estimates suggest around 50,000, General. But for every human we kill, 3 more seem to take their place. They breed like insects and fight like demons. On Earth, Colonel Oh Sung-min had transformed the scattered human resistance into something the galaxy had never seen before. From his command center in the ruins of what used to be Moscow, he coordinated attacks across 6 continents using a network of hidden communications relays. Colonel, we have confirmation from all theater commanders, reported his aide. Operation Ghost Hunt is ready to begin. Oh Sung-min looked at the global tactical display. 3 months ago, humans had been hiding in tunnels and sewers, desperately trying to survive. Now they were the hunters, and the Korthak were their prey. Begin the operation, he ordered. Across the world, human forces launched coordinated strikes against Korthak positions. But these were not the desperate ambushes of the early days. These were surgical operations designed to destroy alien morale as much as alien soldiers. In the ruins of Tokyo, Private First Class Yu Jin-ai led a team of 15 fighters through the subway tunnels. Her mission was simple, but deadly. Find and eliminate Korthak officers. The aliens had a rigid military hierarchy. Without clear leadership, entire formations would freeze up and wait for orders that never came. Jin-ai had learned to identify Korthak officers by their different armor markings and the way other aliens deferred to them. "Target identified," whispered her spotter through the radio. "Korthak commander 50 meters ahead, 4 bodyguards." Jin-ai studied the alien patrol through her rifle scope. The commander was easy to spot. He walked in the center of the formation, and his armor had gold decorations that marked his rank. The Korthak made it easy to identify their leaders. That was another mistake they would pay for. Jin-ai waited until the patrol entered a narrow street with no escape routes. Then she gave the signal. Her team opened fire from rooftops and windows, but they ignored the bodyguards. Every shot targeted the commander. The Korthak officer fell within seconds, his gold-decorated armor pierced by dozens of bullets. His bodyguards tried to return fire, but Jin-ai's team had already disappeared into the maze of ruined buildings. Without their commander, the remaining aliens stood in the street looking confused and lost. They had no idea what to do next. Similar attacks were happening in every major city. Human forces had learned that killing one Korthak officer was worth more than killing 10 regular soldiers. The alien command structure was crumbling from the top down. Master Sergeant Kang Tae-ho had discovered something even more devastating than targeting officers. The Korthak were not just physically different from humans. Their minds worked differently, too. In his laboratory beneath the city of Paris, Kang had been studying captured Korthak soldiers. What he learned changed the entire war. "Colonel O, you need to hear this," Kang reported over the secure communication link. "The aliens have a critical psychological weakness." "Explain," Oh Sung-min replied. "They are conditioned for direct, honorable combat. Their entire culture is built around face-to-face battles where both sides follow rules. They cannot handle psychological warfare." "What kind of psychological warfare?" "Sound, lights, chemicals that do not kill but confuse and terrify. We can break their minds without breaking their bodies." Within days, human forces around the world received new weapons. Sonic devices that produced frequencies painful to Korthak hearing. Strobe lights that disrupted their vision. Chemical sprays that smelled terrible to aliens, but were harmless to humans. The results were immediate and devastating. Korthak patrols would enter areas equipped with these psychological weapons and emerge hours later as trembling, terrified creatures who could barely hold their weapons. The most devastating blow came when Chief Warrant Officer Seo Jun-ho's cyber warfare team achieved something that should have been impossible. They hacked into the Korthak fleet's communication network. "How did you do it?" Colonel O asked when Seo reported his success. "The aliens are too confident in their technology," Seo explained. "They never imagined that primitive humans could break their codes. Their security systems are designed to stop other advanced civilizations, not determined hackers working with captured equipment. With access to the Korthak communication network, human forces could intercept alien orders, send false commands, and create chaos within enemy ranks." SEO's team began sending contradictory orders to different Korthak units, making them fight each other by mistake. Dr. Bae Hyejin made the final breakthrough that sealed the aliens' fate. Working in a secret laboratory in the mountains of Switzerland, she discovered the ultimate weakness in Korthak biology. Their armor conducts certain frequencies of sound and electromagnetic radiation, she explained to the global command network. "We can build weapons that use their own armor against them." The new weapons did not try to penetrate Korthak armor. Instead, they turned the armor into a conductor for energy that overloaded the aliens' nervous systems. A Korthak warrior hit by these weapons would collapse unconscious, completely helpless despite their thick protection. General Vex watched his invasion force disappear piece by piece. Every day brought new reports of units going silent, supply lines being cut, and warriors requesting evacuation back to the fleet. "General," Commander Hex said quietly, Perhaps we should consider withdrawing from this world. The suggestion would have been unthinkable 3 months ago. The Korthak Empire had never retreated from any world. But General Vex was beginning to understand that Earth was unlike any world they had ever attacked. The humans, he said slowly, they do not fight, like any species we have encountered. No, General. They fight like they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. They treat war not as a contest of honor, but as a problem to be solved by any means necessary. General Vex looked at the tactical display one more time. The red zones had grown so large that they covered most of the planet. His mighty invasion force was trapped in a few isolated strongholds, surrounded by an enemy that seemed to grow stronger every day. For the first time in Korthak history, their superior technology and training were not enough. The weak soft humans had proven that strength came in many forms, and the Korthak were learning too late that they had chosen the wrong enemy to underestimate. On Earth, Colonel Oh Sung-min prepared for the final phase of the war. The aliens were beaten, but they were not yet gone. The most dangerous part of any battle was when the enemy realized they were going to lose. Desperate enemies did desperate things, and the Korthak still had hundreds of warships in orbit around Earth. The end came not with a great battle, but with a slow, terrible realization. General Vex stood alone in his command center, watching the last of his ground forces request emergency evacuation from Earth's surface. His mighty army of 200,000 elite Korthak warriors had been reduced to fewer than 20,000 scattered, broken survivors. General, Commander Hex reported with a voice that shook, the final stronghold in what the humans call London has fallen. Captain Moon Subin led a coordinated attack from 6 directions. Our forces could not respond fast enough. General Vex closed his 4 eyes. Captain Moon Subin. The humans had names, families, reasons to fight that went beyond military duty. The Korthak fought for the glory of the Empire. The humans fought for their children's future. How many of our warriors escaped from London? General Vex asked. None, General. The human forces used captured Korthak weapons and our own communication codes against us. They knew our evacuation plans before we did. On Earth, Captain Moon Subin stood in the ruins of the alien stronghold, watching her soldiers secure the area. She was tired, dirty, and had not slept properly in 3 days. But she was alive, and the aliens were gone. Captain, reported her lieutenant, we have recovered alien technology and weapons. Also, we found their communication equipment still working. Good. Send everything to command. Colonel O will want to study it. Around the world, similar scenes were playing out. Human forces were overrunning the last Korthak positions on every continent. The aliens who had called humans weak were now begging to be rescued by their own fleet. In space, Admiral Shin Hyun-woo commanded humanity's hastily built fleet. The ships were a strange mixture of converted cargo vessels, captured Korthak fighters, and new warships built using alien technology that human engineers had learned to understand. Admiral, reported his communications officer, we are receiving surrender requests from multiple Korthak ground units. They want safe passage back to their fleet. Admiral Shin had been a cargo ship captain before the invasion. He knew nothing about space warfare 3 months ago, but he had learned quickly, like all humans seem to do when their survival depended on it. Tell them they can surrender, but they must do it individually. No group evacuations. We want them, scared and separated. The final blow to Korthak morale came from an unexpected source. Corporal Jung Min-ho, a young communications specialist, had been monitoring alien radio frequencies for weeks. He spoke several Earth languages but no alien tongues. However, he understood something more important than words. Colonel O, Min-ho reported from his listening post, I have an idea that might end this war without more fighting. What kind of idea, Corporal? The aliens have been sending videos back to their home worlds showing their victories. I think we should send them some videos too. Colonel Oh Sung-min smiled grimly. What kind of videos? Videos of Korthak warriors running away. Videos of them surrendering. Videos of them being defeated by weak humans. Within hours, human hackers had broken into the Korthak communication network and began broadcasting across their entire fleet. The videos showed Korthak soldiers retreating, crying, and begging for mercy. They showed human forces using captured, alien weapons to destroy Korthak positions. For a species built on concepts of strength, honor, and military superiority, the psychological impact was devastating. Korthak warriors throughout the fleet watched their elite soldiers being humiliated by creatures they had been told were weak and pathetic. Morale collapsed across the entire invasion force. General Vex received reports from his ship captains that their crews were refusing orders. Some wanted to retreat immediately. Others wanted to bombard Earth's surface and kill every human on the planet. All of them were angry, confused, and frightened. "General," Commander Hex said quietly, "we must make a decision. Do we continue this war or do we withdraw?" General Vex looked at the tactical displays one final time. His ground forces were gone. His fleet was demoralized. The humans had captured enough alien technology to build weapons that could threaten his ships. Worst of all, other species across the galaxy would soon learn that the mighty Korthak Empire had been defeated by primitives. "Prepare the fleet for withdrawal," he said, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. "General, the Empire will demand an explanation. How do we tell them that we were defeated by humans?" General Vex thought about the question for a long moment. How could he explain that the soft, weak creatures had turned out to be the most dangerous enemy the Korthak had ever faced? "We tell them the truth," he finally said. "We underestimated our enemy. We thought physical strength was the only kind of strength that mattered. We were wrong." The last scene of the war took place on the observation deck of a captured Korthak battleship orbiting Earth. Colonel Lee Jin-ho, who had started the war in an underground bunker, now stood among the stars watching the alien fleet retreat beyond the edge of the solar system. Around him, his staff reviewed reports from across the globe. Major Kim Yu-jin reported that Earth's cities were being rebuilt. Captain Lee Dong-woo confirmed that human engineers were already improving on captured alien technology. Lieutenant Park So-ra announced that contact had been established with other species in the galaxy who wanted to trade with the humans who had defeated the Korthak. "Sir," asked Sergeant Cho Min-woo, "what do we do now?" Jin-ho looked out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. 3 months ago, the aliens had called humans weak. They had expected easy conquest of a primitive species. Instead, they had encountered something they could not understand. Humans who refused to accept defeat. Humans who turned disadvantages into advantages. Humans who fought not for glory or empire, but for the simple right to exist. "Now we prepare," Jin-ho said. "The galaxy knows about Earth now. Some species will want to be our friends. Others will see us as a threat. We need to be ready for both." "Are you worried about another invasion, sir?" Jin-ho smiled as he watched the last Korthak ship disappear into hyperspace. "Let them come. They will learn what the Korthak learned." "What is that, sir?" "That there is a difference between being weak and choosing to be peaceful. The Korthak thought we were weak because we had not conquered other worlds. They learned too late that we simply had not needed to. The war was over, but humanity's journey to the stars was just beginning. Earth had announced itself to the galaxy as a species that should never be underestimated. The universe would never be the same." As Jin-ho turned away from the observation window, he spoke the words that would become humanity's motto among the stars. "They called us weak. They learned the difference between weakness and restraint.